Hi, I'm Shannon Funt. I have two boys. David is in third grade and Ethan is in first grade. And putting together this quick little video to do an intro to tapping or EFT for kids. And my idea for now that seems to be what's wanting to flow is for me to tap on something that came up yesterday. So in talking all about how we should be with our kids and emotions and allowing them to feel things and holding space for all of their things, and I had this event last night where I just totally lost my shit and did not hold space at all. And feeling somewhat hypocritical, I guess, coming in and talking about, these magical things that we can do with our kids, and then, still being human and all. But anyway, I thought I could tap on my experience, and so you can just see an example, a model of how tapping works, and a real life example for me as an adult, because it works the same way for our kids. It's essentially, so tapping is, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and tapping is a strategy, a tool that feels very much like mindfulness for me. So it's coming to a space with compassion, giving you a tool to be able to be with difficult emotions when you would otherwise want to just run away or fix the situation, problem solve, just talk about it, versus this tool that allows you to hold space for yourself and hold space for your kids to tune in and actually feel the emotion. What are the sensations of the emotion? How big is the emotion? What is the emotion? What is it that you're actually feeling? And allowing it to be there. So mindfulness trains us to have an open heart and to look at things with curiosity and feel and be in the body, be in this moment and notice the stories that we're telling about things. And instead of doing all that quietly, tapping gives us a tool to be able to do something very tactile, using our hands to tap on places, on energy lines in our body, and talk things out loud to help do all of those things that mindfulness would have us do. Be with ourselves even when we are feeling something difficult. So that's one of the reasons why I have loved the tool. And I think it's also one of the reasons maybe why kids like it too, is because it gives them something to do. And it feels really good as well. So if nothing else, it feels like you're getting a little bit of a massage. I won't really go into detail on the why it works. I think for me, if something works, I'm like, done, score. I'll leave the research to the scientists. But one of the resources that you can look at is the Tapping Solution. They have a very nice website, and Tapping 101 is one of the first links on their website. And they also have an app now that, they've had it for several years, but when I first got into tapping, they didn't have the app. But so you would have guided scenarios. So if for whatever you're experiencing, and I believe they have tapping for kids. There might be some modules in there, tapping for kids too. So there's another book as well that the Tapping Solution has, and then they have a book that's explains it for kids and gives all the tapping points, gives the eye is eagle eye, and I think it's hairy eyebrow, and I forget what the other ones are called, but it's a little intro to tapping for kids. So those are just a couple of references that if you like to have something more meaty to put your hands on and to read about or to look at, I recommend those. And okay, so for tapping, the first thing that you do is you just label the emotion. And I put together a little sheet with a list of emotions because so many of us weren't raised in the age where it was okay to feel everything. And so our emotional vocabulary is very limited. So we primarily just feel sad, happy, angry, frustrated, stressed, overwhelmed, and all varying degrees of those, but like those are the words that we use. So I put together a list that has a few more words on it to enhance our emotional vocabulary, because sometimes sad isn't the right word, you know? Sometimes anxious isn't quite the right word, and so you can kind of drill down a little bit more to something that feels good. So for yourself or for your child, you would see if you can name what it is. What is it that you're feeling? And if it's a lot of different things, name all of the things. And then see if you can tune in, maybe even offer to close your eyes with them and ask, where do you feel that? And you can even name a couple of the emotions maybe that came up and see which one feels the heaviest. I like to use heavy and light when it comes to emotions. I don't really love calling them bad or good, because they're just emotions. And the heavy ones, I think we all know, those are what we would potentially call bad, the more uncomfortable ones. It's also, if you look at different other modalities, there's nonviolent communication, has a lot of tools out there, and it talks about emotions, and the more uncomfortable, heavier emotions are generally the ones that we feel when our needs are not being met, or at least when our perception is that our needs aren't being met. And then the lighter ones, the joyful, happy ones, are usually when our needs are being met. Those are how we feel. So that's in that context. I have that on the sheet that I'm including and giving out as well. So the first thing is naming your emotion and seeing where you feel it in your body, and tuning into your body and the sensations of what that feels like in your body. And then giving it a size. So for kids, it's nice to like use a piece of fruit. So a lot of times we do feel things like in our chest, in our belly. And so you can say, does it feel like it's like a grape? Does it feel like it's an apple? Does it feel like it's a watermelon? How big does it feel? And in doing all of that, just even if you can, to get to that point of naming and feeling and giving it a size, you're allowing them to kind of tune into the part of their brain that is not going to be in that emotion, like is not going to be in that fight, flight, freeze. So the amygdala, that's the center of the part of the nervous system that gets you to fight or freeze. And when you have to label something, when you go into your body, you're kind of coming out of that space and going into a different space. So that can be really soothing, just doing the first step, naming it, how big is it, and where is it that you're feeling it. So I'll start with that for myself. So what happened yesterday, we were looking to leave the house to make it to an appointment, and I was blocked by one of my children. We were not allowed to leave the house. And that's why I exploded. And since then, I have realized and done some work to analyze, like, what the heck triggered me so bad about this? And there are a lot of things, but for me, it was feeling trapped and out of control. So I did not have the ability to leave the house because a child was standing in my path. And so not having control was really big for me. So the emotion for that would be, let's see if I have the word for it now. Well, angry, really angry. And of course I don't have that sheet with the emotions on it, so I'll just go with angry for now. Angry, out of control, trapped. And so I'm just going to tune in and see where I feel that. So for me, it feels like really, really heavy in my chest. I would say for sure yesterday it was like an elephant was sitting on my chest. And the only way in that moment that I dealt with it was by yelling and using force. So that's always been my go-to, unfortunately. But I'm giving myself a lot of love and compassion because, whatever, it's who we are, it's how we're raised, and we got to start somewhere. So feeling really angry and feeling that elephant in my chest and just kind of naming that. If I had been able to do that yesterday, just pause for a moment and be like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling really angry right now, and I feel like there's an elephant on my chest and I'm about to explode. So that's the first piece of it. So then when it comes to the tapping, you start at the karate chop point, and that's just where you would, if you imagine where you're chopping wood, because we're out chopping wood all day with our hands, but that's the karate chop point, and you just start tapping. It doesn't matter which hand you use. You just start tapping on that fleshy part of your hand, and you would say, even though, or I wouldn't even say that yesterday, I would have just gone right to feeling really angry. And I'm trying to love myself, even though I'm feeling all this anger. And I'm trying to love my child, even though I'm feeling all this anger and frustration and feeling trapped. So essentially, you're just stating and you're creating space to feel what you're feeling and to see if you can love that feeling. Can you love yourself while you're feeling that feeling? For a child, you would do the same thing. Even though I'm feeling, and you can give them the words, you can say it for them, you can have them say it if it feels good for them to say it. It doesn't matter, it's whatever feels most comfortable. So you can offer words and they can say it, or they can change the words for whatever feels best for them. So you'd say, even though I'm feeling, for me, was really trapped and angry right now, I love myself, even feeling that. Even feeling all that anger, I love that I'm feeling that anger right now. And I don't love that I'm feeling angry, but I'm attempting to. So you can even say that, I'm attempting to love my anger right now and to love myself even with this really, really strong emotion. For kids, it might be something like, I know my mom loves me even though I'm anxious right now. Or I know that I'm a really great kid even though I'm feeling really anxious right now. So it's those words were created and scripted in a very specific way so that we practice this this opposite tendency of usually shaming this emotion, or usually hating on this feeling of uncomfortableness, this feeling of discomfort that these heavier emotions bring on. Usually we don't want to sit with them and we don't want to hold space for them. We just yell, that's our way of getting it out. Or we push it down, push it down, push it down, push it down. And then, eventually it comes back up somehow. So we ignore it. We don't know how to necessarily sit and hold space for it. So this is changing that script and saying, even though I'm feeling this, it's okay. And I'm going to allow myself to just feel this for a little bit. It's like a little experiment. What happens if I actually let myself just feel this and feel it in my body? Will it kill me? Spoiler alert, no, it won't kill you. Okay, so even though I'm feeling really angry and I want to explode and I want to pick you up and I want to move you, I'm willing to just feel this anger, and I'm willing to love myself even when I'm angry. Okay, so you essentially, the suggestion is to do that 3 times. Just set the stage. I'm feeling this and I love myself anyway, or I'm a great kid. I'm willing to just experiment with trying this out. So you say that, go through that kind of 3 times, and then we're done with the karate chop point. And then we move to the eyebrow. And so the points are eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, in the chin, collarbone, and under the arm, and then top of the head. It could be the crown or just wherever, and the top of the head that feels good. So eyebrows, almost like inner eye where the eyebrow ends up here, and then side of the eye is right along the side of your eye. Under the eye is like on that bone right under your eye, under the nose, and then chin, collarbone, under the arm, top of the head. If you want to get really into it, you can do two hands. If you just like doing your left hand, you can just do your left hand. If you just like doing your right hand, you can just do your right hand. You can start with the right and then go to the left. You can move through all of the tapping points. You can skip some. It's totally fine. The process of speaking it out loud and intuitively tuning in and just moving through whatever feels good for you is like, that's it. You're doing this beautiful, loving exercise to allow yourself space to feel something. So whether you get all the points or not, this isn't about being a perfect student at this. The points are just a suggestion, and the points are set out on energy meridians through your body. So in the tapping, the physical tapping is actually supposed to be moving energy. So you're moving energy, emotions, energy in motion. So when emotions get stuck and we don't feel them, we have blockages. Often people will get sick, or they could lead to disease, or just not functioning at your highest good because you have these things that are just clenched up inside of you. Some can be, traumas from when you were a kid. Some can be traumas passed down from other generations. It's we had a lot that we're carrying, and acupuncture is working along the same gist, that we're these emotional, energetic beings, and we have lines running through our bodies. We have chi running through our bodies, and when we're functioning at our highest and we're healthy, that chi is moving. And when we're not, when we're blocked, then there's a block of that natural flow. And so we're gonna scream. We're gonna be really overwhelmed. We're gonna be depressed laying in bed. We're gonna have all of these reactions to those blocks. We're gonna get sick. We're gonna be constipated. We're gonna, our body is reacting to that. Something is out of flow. So the tapping mimics that sort of release that you would get during an acupuncture session, which is kind of cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna start with the eyebrow and say, so now I'm just going to essentially put out there like what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. The story that I'm telling, if you're into Brene Brown, the story that I'm telling about this is just kind of recognizing that in any situation, we're always telling a story internally about that situation. And that story that we're telling is what's causing the charge. It's what's causing the emotion. It's what's maybe subconsciously triggering something that happened many, many times, many, many years ago, whatever. And is bringing it to the surface right now. So, so going back to my situation where I was so angry, feeling so mad. I hate feeling trapped. So I'm just going to say a statement and move to the next. So I'm sorry that I hate feeling trapped. If you're doing this with your child, you can tap on them. You can tap on yourself and allow them to tap on them, kind of following you, whatever feels best, whatever feels the most comfortable. And you can kind of intuit, especially if you're sharing the space with them, you can suggest words that you think, especially for the younger ones, you can suggest words that you think they might be feeling, like once you kind of really tap in and you're in that space with them. So yeah, feeling really trapped under the eye. I don't want you to control me. Under the nose. I hate when I can't control you. In the chin. And again, it's not like I would have said this to him yesterday. It would have been nice, doing it after the fact would have been a great way for me to more quickly release all of that energy that was like pulsing through me as I was screaming, or taking time to just go off to the side and deal with it. But whenever you can get around to it, and just doing it the next day is really is also really healing for me too. So it's not that hard to tap back into how I was feeling then. Same thing for your kids. It could be a situation that happened a while ago and they can still bring it right back up, especially if they never were able to have space to cry about it or to really feel into it because maybe they were at school or you weren't in the right space to be able to hold for them. So it's, we can release stuff whenever, whenever we've got this space, it'll come up. So, I'm going to be in the chin now. So I don't even know where I was. I'm just picking back up at the chin. This is really hard. I hate not being able to control. I hate not knowing the right thing to do right now. I hate that we're going to be late for this appointment. I hate that, I hate that I'm impacting somebody else's schedule now. I hate being late. I hate that you're in control right now. This doesn't feel fair. It's not fair for me. It's not fair for your brother. And so now I'm like, it's interesting because I watch my other son and he tends to get really sad in these moments. I go mad, he gets sad. And so now I'm kind of going through that and I'm starting to feel sad now. So now I'm just feeling sad. I'm just really, it's not even annoyed anymore. I'm just really tired. I'm tired of having to figure out all this emotional crap. I'm tired of having to deal with this stuff when there's life happening. I'm tired of feeling trapped by a kid. I'm tired of not knowing what to do next. I just want things to be easy. I just want things to be easy. I just want to get out the door and not be late. I mean, worst case, I can just call and reschedule. I don't want to do that, and that feels really sucky to even think about having to do that. But it's a possibility. It's not horrible. I can just be here. I'm sure he's got something going on that he needs to talk about. I'm really tired of having to hold space for other people's emotions. I wish this was easier. I wish it was easier for all of us. I wish it wasn't so hard for him to be able to just speak what he needs and not have to act it out. Fuck, it must be really hard for him. So you can see, starting in a place of anger and frustration and resentment, and I'm trapped, and it's so trapped, and then kind of moving into the sadness and considering now other alternatives. And now I'm just naturally going through that. Now I'm starting to feel into the empathy for him and what he must be going through. But that's what I couldn't access yesterday. I couldn't, for whatever reason, the trigger of not getting out of the house on time and being trapped and not being in control, those things just created this perfect storm, and I just erupted. Whereas I know I needed to just be there and be able to see that this acting out for him, just like for me, my anger was a reflection of so much else that's going on underneath the surface. And same thing for him. His blocking us was his way of saying something's going on, I need something. Yeah, so it's like they just don't have the vocabulary. And when we're out of alignment for whatever reason, if something happened that day, if something, they have to go to the bathroom, maybe they've been sitting around for a long time and they need to run, or maybe they've been running around for a long time and now they're tired. There's so many needs that kids have that when they're not being met and they're not able to voice what it is that they're needing, they just need a drink. Same thing for us. We might just need some water, that we're not we're not acting at our best and highest. So for me, like, that was almost enough, because I got to the place where now I can kind of start tuning in. I feel more in attunement with myself now, and that allows me to then attune to what he's going through. And yeah, it feels good after the fact. And I've gotten to the place where it used to feel really good for me to yell, and now it feels horrible for me to yell. Like, I used to not really feel it in my body because I was so cut off from my physical sensations. I just never felt anything really. And now that I've been working on it and feeling into these things, and now I feel how that anger feels in my body, and I hate it. Like, I don't want to have that coursing through me. It's like, oh, I feel like a different version of myself. And just even saying that, like, imagining that that's how our kids feel too when they're acting out and going through something that they don't know what's happening to them either, something triggered them. They don't know what it is. So again, this is a tool. And whether you tap all the way through, whether you get some insight, whether you just create some space to allow them to talk about the emotion that they're feeling without having to fix, without having to analyze, without having to problem solve, we're really just focusing on this allowing the emotion to be felt, and trusting that, just like your friends, right? Like, nobody wants unsolicited advice, and our kids don't want unsolicited advice either. And it's so empowering for them to know that just by going into the emotion, they can work through it. And then what often happens is the same thing that just happened for me, is you get to this place where you're like, oh, that's what's happening. Or you might get a spark or an idea. Your child will have a spark or an idea all of a sudden of something that could be helpful. And they weren't able to access that before because they were so deep in this dark space of the heavy emotion. And so when they move through it and they get back into alignment with, like, that their mind, body, spirit is back into alignment, right? You get inspired, you're in your spirit, and you just, things come through that you couldn't access before. So yeah, I just really love the empowerment that's behind it, and letting kids see that, one, it's safe, two, it's really loving to sit with the emotion, and three, it's not going to eat you up alive. It's actually going through it, and in it is where you can access that inner wisdom. And the emotion's just your gateway into it. So there we go. That's the end of tapping. Thank you for for letting me use myself as the example and not judging me. If you have any questions, please write to me. You can email me at shannonmfunt, F-U-N-T, @gmail.com. And check out the resources. There's so much online and available now for kids and for parents, for adults, whatever you need. So thank you for watching, and thank you for just engaging in this topic with us, because we're all in it. None of us is perfect. And we're all just doing our best. And so are our kids. Wow. So yes, thank you, and be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.